It's time for Inside the Patch with your Las Vegas Raiders. Here's Gnarley Charley.
Well, now you know Brian No is back. Brian, what a weekend. It's your first weekend as an official Raider fan. How'd it feel? How'd it feel that we are 0-3? Man.
I feel like I was, what's the fancy word? Indoctrinated? Is that how yeah. I feel like that was the case. I feel like once I became a part of Raider Nation for week 3, the football gods are like, we're throwing you in the deep end of being in Raider Nation over here with that close loss against the Titans.
Well, maybe it's like this, like you get knighted from the Queen of England, right? And all of a sudden we're throwing tea in the water, like, screw you, England. So it's like the worst thing happens, but I don't know if you watch Game of Thrones much, but you pledged your allegiance. So you're with it now as we go to war.
You know, I kind of, for week 3, I bent the knee.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I bent the knee, and look what happened. Look what happened when I bent the knee, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what, though? There's something about bending the knee that, you know what? It's not always going to go smoothly. It's not always, it's a fight. It's a dog fight. I don't know if you saw any of the quotes. Davante Adams said, look, on paper, we look good. On the field, we're not there at all. He's frustrated. You know.
Yeah, and I can see it because I'd have to go back, Gnarls, but I believe off the top of my head, Davante, what he did catches-wise for sure, and I think possibly yardage-wise, it's been greater. I think it's the same number of catches he's had in week 1 is the same over the course of the last 2 games. And the yardage he had in week 1 was better than the last 2 games combined. So I don't know what happened. It was really strange where I thought he was going to erupt against the Titans after that 2-catch game in week 2. But he had 5 catches for 36 yards. Mac Hollins, have a day. Mac Hollins was unbelievable. That came out of nowhere. But I thought Davante Adams was going to have a much bigger game against the Titans. He didn't. He didn't get the ball a whole lot. And so I can understand why he's frustrated for sure.
I think it could have been Renfro, but he's hurt. But the third receiver is the one that's going to light it up because they've got to have 2 guys on Davante. They got to have Waller kind of handled. And as I don't know, as a Raider fan, it seems like everyone needs to find who we blaming this week. Whose fault is it? And I don't think it's Carr as much. I think he is now in the conversation of if we don't make the playoffs, you're going to take some of the blame. But I think the coach is on the hot seat for sure. But man, Waller dropped a couple balls. Carr was throwing balls that should have been caught. There were some drops, you know?
Yeah, there's plenty of blame to go around. And it's one of those deals where it's just a lack of consistency. It hasn't only been bad for the Raiders. It's just been bad too often because Carr, he's a good example. Carr had some beautiful passes. He's had some beautiful passes in each game. And then he's had some awful passes in each game. Cost him in week 1 with the 3 picks. He had a couple of misses against the Titans. And the offensive line, I would point them out. And I think that's a little, at times, more subtle, Gnarly, where it happened. I want to say it was Darren Waller. I think Carr hit Waller down to the 3-yard line.
Yep.
And there was a holding penalty. And all of a sudden, it's 1st and 20, and that ended up wrecking a drive. So that holding penalty, it's a lot more subtle than Carr throwing a pick that hits all the highlights, but wrecking a drive with 1st and 20 compared to 1st and goal from the 3, it's a huge turn of events.
Well, it's the tale of 2 teams, man. Honestly, we held them to 0 points in the second half. We could not stop them. I think they were breaking NFL records as the most, like, the punter just go back to, we don't need you, and it was like, we can't put a whole game together. We get half.
And that's what Josh McDaniels said after the game. He was talking about we have to play a 60-minute full game.
Right.
Because they've been probably the best team in the NFL at playing 30 minutes of a 60-minute game. And that doesn't get you anything. That actually gets you the only winless record in the NFL.
Well, okay, so I'm watching the game and I'm thinking, hey, we got this really nifty show that we're going to talk about. And at one point, it was like halftime. I go, something's got to change because they're not trying. And then they made it a game. So I felt like either we win this game and it's the greatest comeback ever, and it's great, something to talk about, or we get a dogfight and we take it to the end. And we did take it to the end, and we didn't win. But I felt like, okay, we're not rolling over,
Yeah, well, sure. And they, like you said, they pitched a shutout in the second half, which is great. But it does make you wonder, where was this in the first half? Where this was not a well-oiled Titans offensive machine, as we've seen, right? And they scored 24 points in the first half. And you pointed this out too, Gnarly, is think about Davante Adams specifically, because you go back to week 1, although it was a loss against the Chargers, he had 10 catches for 141 yards and a touchdown. And then you look at the last 2 weeks, he's had a touchdown in each game, but 2 catches for 12 yards against the Cardinals and 5 catches for 36 yards last game against the Titans. So you combine that, last 2 weeks, 7 catches for under 50 yards.
Right.
And he came from the Packers, so it's a lack of individual production with the Raiders right now so far, the last 2 weeks at least. And they're winless compared to winning 13 games each of the last 3 years with Green Bay. He's got to be like, I would love to hear what Davante is saying to his friends off the record. I would love to hear those conversations.
Well, wins seem to, make those low-performing games better. Like, hey, at least we won. It didn't matter. But when you don't win and you're not productive, and I did notice, okay, there were a couple times Davante looks pretty covered, and he sticks his hand up like he's in class, like, throw it to me. And I was like, wow. I mean, he knows he can get it. He knows. And I'm like, you don't really throw your arm up unless you really know I'm ready. Like Mr. Kata, ooh, I'm open. And I was like, and he probably would have made the catch, That reference was to Welcome Back, Kotter. If you're under 40, you have no idea what I just said. Just reference that. It was a show in the 70s. You have no idea what I'm talking about.
I do like the meshing of both worlds. You started off with Game of Thrones, and then way back in the hot tub time.
And then I went Horseshack, which I get in trouble for this a lot in my life. People look at me like, and I go, you don't know what I'm talking about. And they go, nope. And I'm like, well, thank God for Google. Look it up. Welcome Back, Kotter. It wasn't even that good, but Barbarino was John Travolta. That was his first thing ever.
What are some of the old, not just shows, but terms that you wish were not outdated? Gumshoe. You want to bring it? Gumshoe. We need to bring that back.
Sit on it.
Well, you know what? I don't know that this is completely phased out, but it's becoming outdated, and I do love it. It's near and dear to my heart. My dad has always been, throughout my life, a big user of the phrase "dadgummit anyway." That's a great phrase, and I don't want it to become outdated.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to always bring back this. I think that was in the 30s, and it was replaced by this. It's kind of like, I guess if you did something good, you stood up and said hip hip hooray, and this meant it's all about me. And I don't know what Now, how would you, for the non-video audience, for the radio audience, how would you describe the motion? I'm making a fist, my hands together like the church steeple thing, and it's over the shoulder and it's over the other shoulder. I forget it's video and radio. So you know what?
Now, by the way, follow up, Gnarly. How would you describe for a radio audience the Sean Merriman lights out sack dance? How would you do that?
It's almost like you're stabbing yourself with a spear, kind of, but there's no spear. You're just boom. You're doing like stand-up crunches and fast. It's like you have a shake weight, but you're going super fast, but there's no shake weight. But you're going fast and crunching. And you're almost hitting your chin on your thigh if you're going that crazy. That's how I'm excited.
You came up with something far better than me. I don't know what I would say to describe that.
Well, I mean, but that's the difference of it. And when I see this whole thing and this whole Raider, I guess my big point was, all right, if we do not make the wild card, people are moving out of Vegas. Someone's losing their job. Someone's taking the blame. You know, and when you get called into the bowl cut owner's room and he's mad, it's hard not to laugh at him. But the bowl cut being mad at you,
He's right.
it's like, and there's Lady team's doing great, you know.
And just imagine what Mark Davis said specifically that might make it even funnier with the bowl haircut. You know what I mean? Like this is unprofessional while he's got the bowl haircut. You know, this will not be accepted under any circumstance with the bowl haircut.
Have this.
We cannot have this.
We can have this haircut. We're okay with that.
But no, listen, you're right. And I think that in year one, it would have to be like a 1-2 win season for Josh McDaniels to be one and done. But the way they're headed, they have too much talent to have a 1-win or a 2-win season. We can't overreact to that. They've been in every one of these games. It's unfortunate that they've lost all three. They're not going to have a 1 or a 2-win season. I think that's what it would take for Josh McDaniels to not be back. Right. But they're on course, at least to your point, where maybe the offensive coordinator goes, maybe the DC goes. There will be some heads rolling if this pace keeps up, for sure.
So now we're bringing the Broncos to our barn. They're coming to Vegas. And if anything, I just want to see effort. I just want to see flying to the ball. I just want to see, let's go. This is important. I mean, your career's on. If you're on this team and you don't try, you're going to get cut and picked up to no one. Hello, CSL or whatever.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is the Broncos last week looked horrible. But they won. Right. But they beat San Francisco.
Right.
And that softens the blow quite a bit. They are 2-1, and they feel like they're 3-9. Yeah. But they have a winning record. And I think it goes back also, Gnarly, to expectations, because that Broncos home crowd where they're just steadily booing the Broncos offense.
Booing
them. So I guess I want to ask you, going back to before the season started, what were your expectations? Not your hopes, not your desires, like your expectations for the silver and black, because with those expectations not being met, it makes it even worse, and sometimes fans overreact.
Well, I think for me, I thought, well, on paper, I mean, who are they going to cover? If they're going to double team it, then someone's going to be open, right? And I thought we are going to be a scoring juggernaut. I also thought Chandler Jones and Crosby would be a force to reckon with, and that's going to cause problems. And I thought we upgraded our spots. But the thing I think that's really hurt us that no one really talks about is Perriman's out. He was our Pro Bowl linebacker last year, and he was the anchor of the defense. He's been gone for 2 weeks, and it shows. There's something lacking.
I thought before the season, I thought that the Raiders had a good chance to be this year's version of the Arizona Cardinals, because if you look at the AFC West, it looks like a complete gauntlet before the season started, and it still is a tough division. And I compared it to the NFC West last year, where it looked like the same thing. You had the Rams, the Niners. Seahawks always won 10+ games with Russell Wilson. That's a tough division. And the Arizona Cardinals, they were picked to be in last place, and they won double-digit games, and they were a playoff team. I thought the Raiders could be that, and they're off to an 0-3 start. And I also thought what could come back to bite them, I wasn't sold on the offensive line, and I was never sold on Chandler Jones. I'm not saying he can't play. I'm just saying he's more name than game at this stage of his career. So the money that they spent, his numbers were very similar to Ngakoue. Very similar.
Okay, so we are we have the worst record in the NFL, but we are not the worst team. But that's what it is right now. There's no getting around it.
Yeah, that's just it, man. I'm looking at these power rankings. There's one thing, Gnarly. If I ever get bent out of shape about power rankings, knight me in the face. You know what I'm saying? Like, but some of these things, they've got the Raiders 30th in the power rankings. And it's like, bro, come on, man. I know they're 0-3, only winless record. Right. But do you really think everybody but the Texans and Jets are better than the Raiders? Really? There's just no way that's the case.
Well, so now I'm thinking, last week we talked about the pinky guy. The pinky guy is the guy that claims if the Raiders win the Super Bowl, he's going to hack off his pinky. Well, I found something else for motivation. This is a true thing, and it's hard to believe, but there is a restaurant in Beverly Hills. It's the Cannibal Club. Now, the Cannibal Club offers human consumption, and it's legal, supposedly. You can look this up, and you can't just go in. It's not open all the time. You have to be vetted in, and I'm just saying, maybe some of the players, we say, look, if you don't play hard, you have to eat at the Cannibal Club next week.
I will say this, Gnarly, because I wasn't exactly sure where you were going with it.
Oh.
I would say it's better to eat at the Cannibal Club than to be one of the items on the menu for the people at the Cannibal Club. And that's what I thought you were suggesting for the Raiders, you know?
Yeah, but maybe the pinky guy, I would like to have his finger. I might go just to eat his finger.
What would you like to dress that up in? Would that be more of a salad? Would it be more of a gumbo? Like, what would you throw?
I think like a mozzarella cheese stick. Just be going and shove it in there.
Pizza, maybe shortbread. I don't know.
Oh, all right. So look, this is a unique situation. We are 0-3. And so, Brian, coming up on the show here, we have a special guest, and his name is Saint Stan. Sounds great. At the end of the show, Brian, I want to bring you back so we can discuss Saint Stan, because Saint Stan is a unique character. Saint Stan the Raider Man. And if you look at it, it's a lot like Saint Tan. So I don't know. It's coming up right here on Inside the Patch. Brian, thank you very much. We'll see you in a few minutes, okay?
Sounds good, man, for sure.
All right, that's it for Inside the Patch. I'm Gnarley Charley. A lot of thanks to everybody who was here. We had the Raider hater. We had Gage. We had the brand new Capone, the Raider fan. We also had Saint Stan, the Raider fan. And as always, thank you for the Rack and Shelving, Porta Subs. And of course, if you text Gnarly to 51555, that's easy for me to say, 51555, you can donate to Valley Children's Hospital. It's time to get out of here. But Brian Noe is back with us, because Brian, what do we need to know to win this game?
Okay, what we need to know is, first off, you look under every rock, Gnarly, and you're trying to do whatever you can to find a win. And if that means, teaming up with Satan for week 4, so be it. So be it. Is the first thing that you need to know.
I don't know what
the other thing
for that. That could have been a great mascot.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Could be. The other thing is, here's the plan for week 4. Okay, Gnarly. Okay. The last time the Broncos lost a game, it was on the road, as this game is for them also. And it was week 1 against Geno Smith. Okay. Ooh. So here's what we need. The game plan is Derek Carr, be better than Geno Smith. I think he got a great chance to win this game.
Did he punch somebody in the locker room one time, or he got punched?
He got punched. Yeah, he got punched by a teammate, had his jaw broken, missed a bunch of time.
So Derek needs to take a punch from one of his teammates and then hit the field. Right?
Yeah, Chandler Jones. Hey, how about you hit someone? Hit Derek Carr.
I don't care if he's got a red jersey on. Hit him. Let's go. We got to make the wild card. And this is it. We want to stay in Vegas. We got to do this. All right, Brian, that's what we need to know, right?
That's exactly what we need to know. It's things can change very fast. Get a win in week 4, especially against a hated divisional rival, and things can look a whole lot better. I don't want to think about 0-4. This is a gots to have it game.
We got to have it. All right. We'll see you next week with good news. Maybe we'll be the 1-3 Raiders next week. I hope. Come on. All right, brother. Thank you again.
All right, man. Good. For sure, Gnarls. I'll catch you later, bud.
You got it. Later.
I'll see you.
We'll be back with more Inside the Patch on 1430 ESPN, your official home of the Las Vegas Raiders.